Hi folks, welcome to the channel. A few days before the rematch between Jaron Boots Ennis and Karen Chukadzian, whatever his name is, I posted my prediction and once again I was spot on. And every time I post a video up giving my opinion and prediction, someone always makes a comment about my analysis and prediction. If you don't like to hear honest opinion and analysis, predictions, and want to hear what you want to hear, then don't watch this channel. Go and watch someone else's channel. This channel doesn't sit on the fence. Example, because a lot of people think Anthony Joshua is the best boxer, they don't like to hear any honest, constructive criticism. I'm not going to say Joshua is the best fighter to get views, like some channels do. No, I'm going to say Joshua is or was hyped up manufactured boxer because he is or was, and he is finished. Daniel Dubois saw to that. He exposed him, and I said that way back, even before he fought Usyk. And Joshua's fan didn't like what I said or believe it. Go and check my other videos, where are 7 out of 10 videos that I analyzed and predicted are spot on. So without further ado, let's blabber on about this super fighter that Eddie Hearn keeps talking about. But before that, let's put a bit of facts before we come to it. As an ex-heavy gambler and someone deeply passionate about fighting, especially the raw, no rules kind, I get a kick out of making predictions and doing analysis. When you become addicted to gambling, especially horse racing, you start to understand the game on another level. You learn to study the form. Watching races and comparing how each horses stack up against the competition in horse racing, unlike boxing, it's not just two opponents going head to head. You might be analyzing 20 or even 30 horses in a single race. I gave up gambling 13 years ago while I was ahead. But that analytic itch never left. Now that I'm retired and have time on my hands, I decided to dive into a new hobby, YouTube videos. Having been involved in combat sports for over 20 years, I've not only seen fights but also took part in a fair share myself. Amateur boxing, karate, full contact, Muay Thai, you name it, I've tried it. As amateur boxer, I started at Sir Philip's Club in Croydon, same gym as Duke and Clinton brothers and Frankie Lucas, and I used to hang out with Frankie. Does anyone know where Frankie is? Is he alive or passed away? He was a character. Let us know in the comments below if you know where Frankie is. So I know a thing or two about amateur boxing and martial arts and have to recognize patterns in fighters, like in horse racing. But of course, humans aren't horses. When you look how closely at fighters' record and analyze who they face, you get a sense of how they'll perform in the next matchup. And yes, sometimes you can spot the fixed fights too, just like how a jockey might hold back a horse to get a better odds next race. Some boxers are giving cherry pick fights to boost their records, just waiting for that big payday. But the difference, when that held back horse finally races, it usually wins. With a cherry pick fight, the boxer may win against weaker opponents but falls apart when up against a real talent. So here we are, Boots Ennis versus Chukadzian, the rematch. In my prediction video, I mentioned that Boots Ennis isn't quite the real deal people make him out to be. Now they're meeting again, and honestly, I expect the result to be the same, a win for Ennis. It's not Ennis's fault he's facing Karen again. There just aren't many top welterweights willing to fight him right now, and I have a feeling they're cautious, not wanting to take the risk against Ennis. But eventually, that big fight will come. Terence Crawford isn't getting any younger, and it seems he's staying away from Ennis. But why? Let's be real. Ennis doesn't yet have that knockout power needed to topple the top three welterweights. As we saw with Karen, Ennis landed some solid shots, but Karen took them with a smile and came back. Ennis himself got caught by a Karen a few times. And honestly, if Karen had a stronger backhand, he could have done some serious damage to Ennis. I wasn't too impressed with Ennis here. Or maybe Karen is just a solid fighter. Ukrainians are known to be tough. But I stand by my opinion. I don't rate Ennis as highly as some people do. If he beats fighters like Mario Barrios or Imeantes Santionis or whatever their names are, then maybe I'll give him that praise. But for now, he isn't even ranked in the WBC. In the meantime, Ennis has to stay active. He's hungry and he's got bills to pay. Sure, there's a lot of hype, but he's just another overhyped fighter. And as usual, Eddie Hearn is there, pumping up the hype, just like he does with many of his fighters. I won't break down every detail again since I covered that in my prediction, but here is the gist. Boots lacks power, doesn't have the footwork, and his defense is shaky. He gets hit far too easily. Any skilled boxer with a strong backhand will give him serious trouble. If Karen had that kind of power, he might have knocked Ennis out. And for Ennis to think he's ready for someone like Pat Crawford, well, he should think it twice. And against Ryan Garcia, well, Ryan has a bit of power in his back end, and as we've seen it with David Haney. By the way, aside from the IBF, where does he stand in the rankings? Ennis is overrated, and until he faces a truly skilled opponent, I'm not convinced he's the real deal. Another thing, I think the judges were biased against Chugadzian. I scored it close, and not a wide margin win like judges did. Judges in America are biased just because Karen is from Ukraine. More crooked judging. But hats off to Karen, he shoved up and fought hard, not like last time. He stood his ground and proved he could fight. So well done, Chugadzian. And as for Boots Ennis, he isn't what they say he is. He's just a hype for Eddie Hearn to make more money by boosting his record and filling his boots with lots of cash. Like I always say, if a fighter is good, he gets a good praise. But if someone gets on the highest building and shouts out he's the best since the sliced bread and turns out he's not, he's going to get exposed by critics. You can't make him what he's not until he can prove it, and until then, we call it as we see it. Thanks for watching, folks. See you next time. Ciao, adios, bye.